Tuesday, April 4th, 2023, I had just finished a long and boring meeting. We were cut short about 30 minutes, and I had time to kill before my lunch hour. In those 30 minutes, I tried to cry, to sob and bawl my eyes out, to suck my emotions from their airlock and into space where I could move past them. This is key, I wanted not to forget, but to remember, and it all started with a stream of text. Call me when you get the chance. And I responded that I'm sorry I haven't called, I've been busy with X, Y, and Z. To which was responded, X and Y sound fun, glad you got to do Z, you should really call me when you get the chance. And this immediately set a tone that... This tone made me privy to the nature of this text and this eventual call. I know my mother well enough to tense up when I hear this tone. I know that it means that something awful's happened. My mind jumped to conclusions and to the worst. After a phone call, I was left with the news that my childhood dog, Wiley, had passed. And tears brewed in my eyes, and a few of them escaped, but no matter my efforts, the emotions would only well up. They refused release. It's a boyish thing to want to cry and be unable. I've learned from men greater than myself that crying takes strength, that it's easy to bottle up emotions, it's easy to hide, it's hard to be vulnerable, and I wanted vulnerability in that moment. What's difficult is typically true. I needed to cry, and I couldn't. So I couldn't cry. My second fear after not being able to cry and not being able to release my emotions was that these emotions would bottle up and become something else. I was afraid that I lacked control over them and that their presence would put me at risk. I feared that I would have this vulnerability in front of my coworkers, my peers. I feared that my negative emotions would turn from sadness into anger and lash out at my friends. So I had to find a solution, and my mind desperately searched for one. I considered taking time off. At first, I considered just taking that day off, the rest of the day, then the next day, and I even considered taking off that entire week. But I ended up deciding that I just needed to get through the day. I just needed to make it to Friday, and I would take Friday off. I would suspend the emotions until Friday, and trust that they were as content as they had bottled themselves away without my consent. With a mindset around vulnerability as strength. I'm wary of the philosophy in the office, but I pursued that philosophy. I pursued dueling my grief on a specific time and date, as I didn't have any control over it presently. So my productive processor in my mind sought solutions for that Friday. My chosen medium has and always will be games. I struggle with emotions, but, games can make you cry. 100 hours in a JRPG will get you there. I had always considered a few games for the inevitable death of a close family member or a friend. I've been here before. This isn't the most difficult shock of my life. This is something I've had to deal with prior. And I've prepared in a weird way for it. I prepared myself mentally for more loss. Subconsciously and intently, I've associated games with events, people, and conflicts. All of them hold their own intrinsic meaning, but they also hold an extrinsic meaning intrinsic only to myself. I reserved Persona 3 and Everhood as games cognitively for death, but now faced with that reality, I struggle to see their point in this conflict. They're games that are more focused on the acceptance of one's own death as a concept of conquering the fear of death. And my own thoughts of them are that they were wonderful, enjoyable, kinetic, and personal experiences. They're games about death, but not necessarily for me do they represent death. So objectively, they're games about death. Subjectively, they mean very unique things to me that aren't concerning death, and their messages aren't applicable at this time. Everhood, for example, explains the necessity of the finite and broader Buddhist concepts of death, how death is only the end of now, but not the end of our souls. It tackles the ruination of stagnation that immortality achieves, and how life should be more about rebirth and reaching an afterlife than persisting in life forever. These games and several others I had reserved are important, meaningful, but they don't provide closure. I'm aware of death's necessity. I knew my precious pup didn't have long because I was there for his stroke. I saw the change and I anticipated the end. We all did. These are powerful experiences, but they're not what I needed or wanted at the time. Which segues into my thoughts on remembrance, which has value in the future, not the present. I scrolled through my phone the day of to every capture of his smiling face. I couldn't cry even after that, but it was a healthy part of the process. It was necessary to practice remembrance in that moment. And it's important to practice remembrance for the rest of my life, because he was a crucial and important piece of it. Remembrance is a lifelong process, not a one and done, nor a solution to one's immediate grief. Which is partly why I didn't play through The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, because it is so deeply associated with Wily. I hold fond memories looking up from the stairs in my childhood home's basement to the illuminated frame of a fluffy wolf atop the stairs he's forbidden to trod down, that same basement being where I played Zelda's Twilight Princess and first beat it. All while Wily's presence sat atop those stairs. He was always out of sight, but I knew he rested nearby. The parallels of this wolfy dog to this wolfy Zelda game are apparent, and the two are cognitively linked. One makes me think of the other, and with his life on my mind, I find Twilight Princess constantly on mind. It's not a game I used to associate with death. Midna's Lament and the Twilight Zone at large are melancholic, but never made me consider death. It was an epic. Every scene was built to attribute to that sense, that feeling, but I no longer feel that's true for me. The game now forever will be tainted with a association of death. I did boot up my old save from so many years ago to look through Hyrule again, to fish in that little lake again with my Wiimote and nunchuck, and I would have fought Ganon once more in his final spectacular duel, but my Wiimote's minus button isn't working, so it is what it is. But all that wasn't on Friday. It was reserved for after, for this video, but also past that sadness and grief. It was done for remembrance's sake. And another game I had a similar effect with was Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate for the 3DS, one of my all-time favorite games, a game I cannot nor probably will ever play again. I picked it up sometime in high school, and it was a transformative experience. I associate it with growth, cooperation, accomplishment, and competency, core values of my ego. My good friend Leah and I played it for several years together on the bus ride home, and then after. It was a game about our journey as friends together through our most formative years. To put further perspective and add context, I did all the egg quest, I got to G rank, I made it to Chaotic Gormagala, I nearly 100% the game. I love Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. But I didn't 100% it. I lent the game away and never saw it again. I've pondered buying another copy, but I can't. I have fond memories of the game even if my save is lost, but it has another reminder I've forever given it. When my friend Logan was hospitalized, I lent him my copy. I trusted he'd be back beside me in our graphic design class in no time. I figured, hey, I love this game. Maybe it'll entertain you till you're up and up again and out of the hospital. I meant to visit him. I put it off. I don't know why. And then a week before I set the date and all to visit, he passed from leukemia. I truly believed he'd just appear back in his seat next to me. We had planned to get our Adobe Illustrator certification together. We just need to learn how to use a stupid 3D perspective tool. And I never did get that certification, nor did I touch Illustrator again, and I haven't enjoyed any Monster Hunter game since, even with all my friends pestering me to play World and Rise. I did play World, but I didn't enjoy it for obvious reasons. I should footnote that here. I always thought it was because I stubbornly believed 4 was the best. I lied to myself for a long time thinking that. I think I've finally come to the real reason I can't play that game anymore. And like, I hope my trauma dumping, this whole video isn't too unsettling. I see this channel as a way to share media I love, but to also express what's difficult for me. This channel is a public archive where I can preach on my soapbox forever about what only matters to me, to an audience that, you know, they're not close enough to my life to judge me. And if they are, it's because I let them into a circle where I just talk about things I like and love and how I feel. And sometimes I have to open up and feel things and understand those feelings and express those feelings and explain things to myself in words, because while my thoughts are in words many times, they don't translate to paper 1-to-1, 1-for-1. They translate to paper with a lot of thought and effort, and that's extremely therapeutic and introspective. And I'm hoping that, you know, my answer to my feelings and my conflicts in my life can help others as well. But it is really just for me. Hopefully it helps someone. It at least has helped me. And to get back on track, Friday came along and I didn't want to dive down memory lane. I didn't want to fall and bump down all the steps of grief, nor do I want to explore how others grieve and deal with death. I just wanted my emotions, some privacy, and some distractions. Distractions that were games and were YouTube videos of games. So I spent the day prior mostly I spent the days prior mostly sleeping, something I hate doing. It feels extremely unproductive, and like mentally I beat myself up over that whenever I do it. So that was a telling sign how much this had impacted me. Finally, the prophesized day came along. It's amazing how games free of associative triggers can be so relieving. I played Path of the Exile, RoboQuest, Red Zone, and all of Severed Steel, and watched too many ambiguous amphibian VODs during my play. I played RoboQuest some more, Gunfire, and Crusader Kings with some friends. I relaxed. It was an extremely medicinal day to just distract myself. Writing on Games made a video about how difficult games can help with difficult times, and Severed Steel on the difficulty Severed Steel was fun as fuck and pushed me in solitude to feel competent and distract me from reality. Escapism in this scenario was extremely healthy. RoboQuest and Gunfire pushed me with friends to push past this time, and conversely, Crusader Kings gave me a laugh, the best medicine, because we overtook the Pope and had a niche Muslim sect take over all of Italia and the Mediterranean. I didn't play emotional or relaxing games like Stardew. I had expected to. I didn't. I just expressed myself kinetically and even statistically as a substitute for working through stress normally. Because the truth is, no game can capture Wily. No game can capture my grief. No game can solve life's problems. Nor should any game. True, a game and a lovable pup make me think of the other, but they retain their independence. They're each greater than their associatives independently. No game can completely alleviate the loss of a loved one. It's a culmination of healing factors. Friends, games, thinking, introspection, and whatnot all contribute to the process. I simply grieved through games and life, the only way I could. I rested, I weeped, I played, I joked, and I wrote my way through it. I had the answers, but life isn't logical. I know death, but my heart doesn't always listen to my mind. Like it would change anything even if it did. I simply had to feel for some time. I felt sad, tired, relaxed, and relieved. I had to have fun and be happy again. And to be honest, I'm still in this process. It isn't something that truly ever ends. I still remember Logan. I still remember Wily. Good and bad, and neither are going to leave my mind anytime soon. Maybe ever. But that's how it goes. That's life for you. It's life and it's death, honestly. And as for the name of the video, I don't know how to grieve, nor do I think there's a prescribed and proper way. That stupid stages of grief, yeah, I get it, it's non-linear, but it also feels inconclusive. It's extremely objective about something extremely subjective. People are more complicated than a stage is. The reality of it is, I had to handle it in my own way. I had to do a lot to get here in a short amount of time, just to not feel sad all the time. Now I can think of Wiley and have joy in my heart. Yes, sadness, this is a sad video, but you know, progress and process. I had to write my way through it and improv my way on the mic as I get teary and sad and whatnot, but I had to do a lot just to make myself feel content again. And I don't know why you're here, why you're watching, but I hope it helped. I hope it was entertaining to a degree. But most of all, I just, like, I want to tell my dog, I want to tell Wiley that I miss him. I love that stupid, lovable ball of fluff. I'm so thankful for the memories and the childhood I had with that dog. He wasn't just a part of, like, the pact. He wasn't just our dog. He really was family. And, I have nothing more to say. Thank you.